Today is the 24th of March 2020, and I just thought as we move into this fog of uncertainty, take you for a little walk to our local goat farmer, pick up some fresh milk and cheese, and I wrote a book 10 years ago. It was a kind of a mental exercise. It was kind of a homeschooling exercise for myself. It had 7 of the major questions I think everyone should ask themselves, and each of those 7 were broken down into 7 subcategories. I'm going to read to you from chapter 5, When is the Best Time? And the 6th section is called Forever, which comes right after Always and right before Present. Alexander Pope said, "Hope springs eternal in the human breast. Man never is, but always to be blessed." Forever is embodied in the concept of hope. Hope only exists because time moves on. To hope is to believe positively in a future of forever. With the help of many good authors and scientists and enlightening books, I've come to believe positively in the future of forever. Unfortunately, from my current viewpoint, the best part of it, the only one I really know, being here living on Earth, will end for me. But as long as other beings go on, so can I.
Just up in our garden there.
The exercise of thinking about what you would do if you knew you would die in a year, a month, or a day takes on a different meaning if we knew that the whole world of living things would be destroyed in a year, a month, or a day. That would be like losing all hope. We know that as individuals we will not live forever, but we know that in some ways we will live on through our friends, family, children, or works. Mahatma Gandhi said, "Live as if you were to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were to live forever." Learn a little about the scientific evidence that there is a uniting force among all things, particularly relevant for living things, which very possibly could allow us to live forever in a form that we don't understand yet. As long as there are living things, this uniting force of consciousness should exist. And very possibly it is a force that exists outside of time, in eternity, or what we might call forever. Larry Dossey, one of my favorite authors, has written extensively about the scientific data that supports the existence of non-local mind. Non-local mind is a mind that is not confined in space and time to the brain and body. Similar to Rupert Sheldrake's morphic resonance, where we can tune into this universal mind, he proposes that the universal mind works through the brain and body. It's not confined to the present moment. It's an infinite, eternal, beyond forever, and omnipresent. This is what, in the West, we call the soul. Almost everyone has experienced déjà vu, the feeling of having been somewhere before or having had some experience before. This could be the experience of tapping into the non-local mind on a conscious level. I know I've had that feeling, and it's been very, very real to me before, especially in Santorini, Greece. Non-local systems are accepted in physics. Einstein referred to non-local behavior of subatomic particles as spooky action at a distance. Spooky because it violates our view of locality, that everything exists in space and time separately as matter. In Nick Herbert's book, Quantum Reality, he describes physics experiments that have clearly shown that at the subatomic level, the world is non-local. If it's true in physics, why not at the level of the mind? Pandora was the first mortal human and was given a large jar, later translated to box by Zeus, and told not to open it. She was also given the gift of curiosity, so she opened it, and all of the evils, ills, diseases, and difficult labor that mankind had not known previously escaped from the jar. When she saw the terrible things that were let out, she quickly closed it, retaining only one thing in the jar: hope. Hope is what is left after all humankind's curses are released into the world. I personally collect wooden boxes. I have a very special antique Swiss puzzle box. I leave the key inside the box so I know where to find it. If I lock the box, I would have to put the key somewhere else and might not be able to find it when I wanted it. Perhaps the mistaken translation from Pandora's jar to Pandora's box was a hopeful coincidence. The key was left in the box. Hope could be the key emotion that ties us to that unseen connection in all of living things. Hope gives us the ability to love. They say getting married a second time is hope triumphing over experience. Hope can triumph over many adversities. I believe in lucky coincidences. Of course, you have to be looking for lucky possibilities in situations to see them, just as you have to look for hope to take the most advantage of it. There are many definitions of hope, and it's difficult to define. Physicians have written much enlightening literature about hope, as it is the piece of the puzzle in healing that is one of the most mysterious. Hope pushes us to take chances and go on. Research has shown that belief and expectation,
all those bells will go on
the
cows
elements
soon.
of hope, can change the physiology of the brain and cause endorphins to be released, which make people feel better and block pain. Hope is a self-fulfilling prophecy in this respect, and possibly in many other ways that we don't understand. Like almost everything else positive, hope is difficult to find unless you look for it. Hope is embodied in prayer. In the Spendthrift experiments, the researchers extensively experimented with prayer on enhancing the growth of seeds, molds, and also the hindrance of growth. The results were undeniably in favor of the mind being able to affect systems at a distance. Their definition of prayer is a force that brings increasing evidence of order
1638.
to its object.
Amazing.
They refer to this ordering force as our normal concept of God. In their words, quote, Spendthrift calls the consciousness that increases order in the universe the ordering force. Close quote. Spendthrift describes the ordering force as the universal ordering power. This term, ordering force, could be an acceptable way to describe a universal God. The ordering force brings ordering effects to evolution and healing. Ordering effects define the patterns of evolution which describe a person, place, or thing. A healing is the return to the normal pattern of ordering effects needed by the situation. One of the most unusual findings, and one that points to the realization that the universe is purpose-driven, goal-directed, and has meaning, is that non-directed prayer, the, quote, thy will be done sort, was more effective than praying for a specific result. It's difficult to find any kind of fun when you're ill, and especially when you have a bad illness. But you can try to look at the humorous side of it. According to Sherwin Nuland in his book How We Die, it's illegal for a physician to record as cause of death old age. That makes life itself a terminal illness that we're born with. We all have it. But there are some humorous things that will happen along the way, even at the end, if you look for them, I hope. Miles Kington, a writer and humorist, was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and told that statistically he would be doing very good to be around in 1 year. In the hope of having some last-minute fun doing what he was good at, writing, and knowing that writing about cancer is, quote, in the good books for publishers, at the moment he started writing letters to his literary agent with ideas for a funny book on cancer. The letters became the book, How Shall I Tell the Dog? Kington declares that Patricia Schultz's book, 1,000 Places to See Before You Die, is the world's most annoying book for someone diagnosed with terminal cancer, and suggests a different one called A Thousand Places to See Before You Die, which are pretty much as good as Patty Schultz's, but not half as crowded. Recalling one of the places that he's managed to visit so far, Machu Picchu, which unfortunately I've never been to, he said that his guide was raving about how remarkable that 600 years ago another civilization could construct something so brilliant. He pointed out that at the same time, British builders had just completed Salisbury Cathedral, a feat which makes Machu Picchu look pretty basic. Imagine, he says, this is a quote, imagine if you were stumbling through the Peruvian forest and came across Salisbury Cathedral. Now that would be remarkable. Kingston proposed that since few of us are in a position to utter last words, a scheme should be put in place where we could register in advance some enlightening last words to be made public at the appropriate moment. Looking posthumously, humorously at words can be fun. What would you like your last words to be? I would like mine to be, and I took the one last traveled, and H-E double toothpicks, it was fun. What would you like people at your funeral to say? I would like them to say, look, he's still moving. Just joking. Here are a few famous last words. Said by Alex, the African gray parrot used in comparative psychology research at Brandeis University, spoke to his handler when she put him into the cage for the night. He was found dead the next morning. When he was put into the cage, he said, "You be good. See you tomorrow. I love you." Pope Alexander VI said, quote, "Wait a minute." Lady Nancy Astor, when she awoke on her deathbed to see all her family around her, said, "Am I dying, or is this my birthday?" J.M. Barrie, the author of Peter Pan, said, his last words, "I can't sleep." Be careful what you wish for, Peter. Frank Baum, the author of The Wizard of Oz, said, quote, "Now I can cross the shifting sands." Henry Ward Beecher, an evangelist who died on March 4th, 1887, said, quote, "Now comes the mystery." And the primary author of the American Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson, who died on July 4th, 1826, the 50th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration, said, "Is this the fourth? I resign my spirit to God, my daughter, and to my country." His great political rival, John Adams, who became a correspondent and a friend, died the same day, a few hours later. And here's for some lighthearted ones. Humphrey Bogart. "I should have never switched from Scotch to martinis." Groucho Marx. "Die, my dear? Why, that's the last thing I'll do." Del Close, improviser, teacher, and comedian, died in 1999. "Thank God, I'm tired of being the funniest person in the room." Charles Gussman, television writer who wrote for the soap opera Days of Our Lives. And now, for a final word from our sponsor. John Maynard Keynes famously said, "I should have drunk more champagne." Wilson Misner, after talking to a priest, said, "Why should I talk to you? I've just been talking with your boss." Stan Laurel of Laurel and Hardy. "I wish I was skiing." Nurse. "Oh, Mr. Laurel, do you ski?" "No, but I'd rather be skiing than doing what I'm doing." And a few possibilities, just for laughs. Number 1, I wonder where the mother bear is. Number 2, what does this button do? Number 3, they say there's still cannibals around here. Number 4, these are definitely edible mushrooms. Number 5, I've seen this done on TV. Number 6, it's strong enough for both of us. Number 7, hey, that's not a violin. Your last words might not be your last laugh, and many indications are that it won't be. In his book, The Complete Idiot's Guide to Near-Death Experiences, P.H. Atwater brings together 21 years of interviewing over 3,000 adults and 200 children who have had experiences of otherworldliness, usually when in situations of clinical death or near death. He says that every one of them agree on one thing. After we die, there is more to come. There's actually been quite a bit of study done relating to near-death experiences. The famous psychiatrist Elizabeth Kubler-Ross heard many consistent stories repeated of mystical experiences from people that were dying and concluded, quote, that no one ever dies alone. That someone, a spirit being, an angel, deceased relative, or guardian made of light, comes to comfort and receive those who are about to die. Probably the most common hope that mankind has ever had is to be immortal, to live forever. Remember what hopeful means. I love acronyms. Happy old person expecting fantastic, unusual life. My late brother-in-law said, quote, 50's not old if you're a tree, unquote. So Joe King is 10 years into my hopeful tree period. Anticipation is greater than realization. Eternity doesn't mean forever. Eternity is contained only in the now. There's at least one way to live forever, and that's to live forever in the present.